We've now won 4 of the 5 trophies we need to complete the Pentagon Challenge, meaning we just have South America to go. Sadly, we leave AC Milan having lost out on a second title to Inter Milan. But the joke's on them. We're the ones who won the Champions League. So I resigned and once again, I'm unemployed. A few months later, there are 4 jobs available. But it's only the Montevideo City job that is appealing to me. Although they're only 7th in the table with 5 games to go, they have recently won back-to-back titles. But are they really the team to win us the Copa Libertadores? I don't think so, so if we did go there, they'd just be a stepping stone. And whilst there's no guarantee, the Argentinos juniors and River Plate managers are under real pressure and might get sacked soon. So I'm gonna hold out for one of those jobs. Sorry Ghana, but I'm just not interested in your national team job, but thank you for the offer. So I waited a month and a half and finally the River Plate job became available, so I applied on November 18th. And then finally on December 23rd, I was offered an interview at Everton, which obviously we said no to because we've already won the Champions League. But I still haven't heard back from River Plate, so I may as well go for the Velez job, which has also become available. Their manager seems to have resigned after they just won the Copa Libertadores, so I am very interested in this job. But for some reason, whilst I can declare my interest in the job, I can't apply. And that's because it seems like they very quickly headhunted the former River Plate manager to take over. So I guess we'll keep waiting for a reply from River. But we could also apply for the Defensa Sporting job, the current champions of Uruguay who have just seen their manager retire. Hopefully applying for this job will put some pressure on the River Plate board to offer me an interview. And it worked, because less than 24 hours after I applied for the Defensa Sporting job, River Plate offered me an interview. Almost 2 months after I applied. Bingo cards at the ready. The board are concerned that I've not managed in Argentina before and well, you know the rest. But after leaving AC Milan, they want to know why I want to drop down to their level. Firstly, don't be so hard on yourself, River. And secondly, there isn't an option for me to say I'm trying to do the Pentagon Challenge and South America is the last continent I need to complete. So I just told them I'm capable of succeeding at whatever level. But now they're upset, I'm also in the running for the Defensa Sporting job. I mean, if they'd just been quicker and offered me an interview, we wouldn't have to go through all of this mess. But I told them I'm prepared to withdraw from that job. And that seemed to work, as they then offered me the River Plate job. So will this be our final club in the Pentagon Challenge? We join on January 7th, 2 weeks before the season starts, so the squad is pretty much already sorted. As they did so poorly last season, there is no continental football for us to contend with this year. So we can just solely focus on the league, which is way more complicated than you might think. With 28 teams in the league, everyone plays each other once, and the winner is crowned champion. Then in the second half of the season, it's essentially a massive cup competition, everyone plays each other once in their group, and then there's one more random game to take it to 14 games in total. And then the top 4 from each group go into a knockout tournament, with the winner getting a Copa Libertadores spot. The other spots are given to the best performing sides from the overall league table that keeps tally of all the games played. At least that's what I think. I'm not 100% sure, and from what I can tell from Reddit, I don't think anyone in Argentina really quite knows how the league works either. But on the eve of the season, we lost our right winger as his release fee clause was met. Even worse, we can't actually sign a replacement until July unless it's on a free transfer. And at this point, there aren't any good free agents available. We started off the season strong though, with our first choice striker, Mauro Fondes, scoring a brace in a 5-1 win. He then followed it up with another 2 goals in our next game to win 3-2 away from home. But we also lost 2-1 to rivals Racing Club and were defeated 1-0 by San Lorenzo to bring us back down to earth. So after 10 games, we sit 9th in the table, but just 6 points away from the top spot. However, it seemed like the losses were down to our players still getting used to our new formation, as by the time we played holders Velez, we won 2-0 away from home. And then in the very next game, we beat Boca Juniors 1-0 thanks to a goal from 19-year-old right winger Edgardo Mendes. He'd been thrust into a starting spot after our first choice Lopez was sold in January, and he was doing a great job. However, I know someone who could do an even better job. The issue is Moon Sung Hwan is one of the highest paid footballers on the planet in Saudi Arabia, so we have next to no chance of signing our hero, even if he leaves at the end of his contract. So for now, we just need to rely on Mendes to keep scoring goals from the right-hand side of the pitch. But it was our left winger who we started to rely on. Patricio Viano got into some scoring form in the midpoint of the season, helping us beat Newell's Old Boys 1-0 at home, and then scored the second in a 2-0 win over Ferro, pushing us up to 4th in the table with 6 games to go until the season splits. Edgardo Mendes really doesn't want to lose his spot to a 32-year-old South Korean though, so he scored a hat-trick against Godoy Cruz to help us secure a 3rd place finish, which I think is good. I don't really know because we now have the second part of the season coming up, which I think is more important than the first part. But either way, Edgardo kept scoring for us and helped us to win games, putting us 3rd in the table halfway through this league phase, exactly where we need to be for the knockouts. But competing with him for top scorer was centre midfielder Juan Cruz Hernandez, who was creeping his way into double figures for the season. So after a great next 7 games, we managed to win our group, giving us a favourable draw for the quarterfinals of the knockout competition. But crucially, we are 3rd in the overall table, which I think should put us into the Copa Libertadores next season, no matter what happens in this knockout competition. So in our league quarterfinal, we had a dream start. Mendes' shot apparently goes down as an own goal thanks to a slight deflection. 21 minutes in and we managed to score from a back post corner, before controlling the game up until the 90th minute where we scored 2 more. Viano profited from an unfortunate deflection and then Juan Cruz Hernandez added to his tally in the 96th minute. This sets us up against Boca Juniors in the semi-finals, and it took until the second half, but we managed to open up the scoring thanks to Mauro Fuentes. But moments later, we allowed Boca to score at the other ends. But overall, we'd been the stronger of the 2 sides, and that showed as the game got to its latter stages, as Viano gave us the lead and Edgardo Mendes sealed the win with a 3rd. So for the final, we're taking on last season's champions Vélez, who also won the Copa Libertadores last season. So if we beat them, it's going to look pretty good for our hopes next season. However, what transpired was the most boring half of football I have ever witnessed. 0 highlights and just 1 low quality shot around 35 minutes into the game. But finally, 58 minutes in, there was a highlight, and it was in our favour. Viano raced down the left wing, crossed it to the far post, and Mauro Fuentes headed home for the opener. The game's second highlight occurred in the 83rd minute, and a dangerous Vélez cross was scrappily cleared, but not far enough. And the second shot was good, and Vélez equalised. And they looked like scoring again. In the 88th minute, they had possession, and our keeper almost spilled the powerful shot into the back of his own net. So with the game looking like it was going to extra time, we had one final roll of the dice. Viano put an inch-perfect ball through into Fuentes, who slotted home past the keeper to win us the game in the 92nd minute. We are the Argentine champions. I think. I'm still not sure if this is part of the league or a separate cup competition or what. Our marquee signing over summer was goalkeeper Younes Arncourt, signed for 3.5 million from Wydad Casablanca, our biggest rivals from our days in Africa. If we want to win the Copa Libertadores, it starts with a great defence. So we also signed Matias Amaya on a free transfer from Rosario Central to be our rock at the back. But a strong defence also works well in the league, as we kept 6 clean sheets in our first 9 games. Of course, Edgardo Mendes was still scoring plenty of goals for us, but this season we're going to start to drop 34-year-old Mauro Fuentes and replace him with his backup from last season, Carlos Franco. The 23-year-old was finding his shooting boots, and the two of them kept swapping around in our early fixtures. But they need to be on top form if we're going to qualify from our incredibly tough Copa Libertadores group. Corinthians humbled us in our opening game by going 2-0 up within the first 10 minutes. But we did manage to regroup enough to score a consolation goal in the 90th minute, but we still ended up losing 2-1. So after being schooled by one Brazilian team, we thought the second would do the same to us. But we were completely wrong, because we were way better throughout the entire game, scoring 5 goals in the first half alone. Fluminense did pull one back, but we never looked like losing. The second half was a lot tighter with both teams scoring 1 goal each, but we flew back to Argentina with a massive 6-2 victory. I did feel pretty bad for Bolivian side Blooming. We beat them twice and they ended up conceding 39 goals in all of their games. So when we travelled to Brazil to play Corinthians, once again they took the lead, but we pulled one back just before half-time. However, their half-time team talk did wonders as they took the lead again 3 minutes into the second half, but we did our job and pulled back another goal to draw the game 2-2. So after another big win over Fluminense, we finished second in our group to qualify for the knockout stages. Here we've been drawn against Palmeiras in the second round. And in the first leg at home, we took the lead in the 37th minute before doubling our lead 3 minutes later. In the second half, Edgardo Mendes found Forndes in the middle and made it 3 to take home a huge victory. The second leg was off to an incredible start as well, as we made it 4-0 on aggregate, but then our right back was shown a straight red card, which allowed the Brazilians back into the game, scoring in the 57th minute and then once again 3 minutes later. But luckily for us, we held on and came away 4-2 winners on aggregate. And although it wasn't our focus, we'd also been doing superbly well in the league. And as a result, we topped the initial league table 5 points ahead of Newell's Old Boys, who lost twice late in the season in order for us to overtake them. But back to the Copa Libertadores, in the quarterfinals we've been given another Brazilian opponent, this time Grêmio. But at our place they held us to a 0-0 draw, so I didn't have much hope going over to their place. But we did manage to take the lead thanks to a neat cutback and a powerful shot. But anything we can do, Grêmio can also do, and they scored basically the exact same goal. But our overall game and attack was just stronger. And in the end, we managed to overpower the Brazilians when a header was pushed into the path of one of our players who just couldn't miss from point-blank range, and we won the game 2-1 to progress. But our semi-final against Vélez was going to be tough, as we drew 0-0 away from home. And then 2 minutes into the second leg, Vélez opened up the scoring with a great goal from distance. It would be heartbreaking to beat all these Brazilian teams to end up losing to Vélez in the semi-finals. Thankfully for us though, 20 minutes later, Mendes and Forndes linked up once again to get us onto level terms. And so at 90 minutes, the scores were still 1-1, but rather than going to extra time, we go straight to penalties. Vélez had the first kick and they sent Ancor the wrong way to score. But thankfully, we did the same to the Vélez keeper. We'd spent big money on Ancor to bring him to the club, and he paid dividends when he saved Vélez's second penalty, whereas we scored ours to give us the lead. Ancor then remarkably saved Vélez's third penalty, whilst we scored ours, meaning Vélez had to score the next one to stay in the game. But Moron was a moron as he hit the crossbar, meaning we're going to the Copa Libertadores final. Now the final is looking absolutely incredible because we're playing Defensa Sporting from Uruguay, aka the team that we used as a pawn in order to get an interview at River Plate. So either we win the game and complete the Pentagon challenge, or we lose and I look like the world's biggest idiot. We also have one big issue. Our goalkeeper is injured and out for the game. He picked up the knock whilst on international break, so we're going to have to use our first choice keeper from last season, Maurício Dabove, who isn't bad, but he's not as good. And whilst he's been out for a while, it certainly seemed like the injury was breaking news to one of our fans. Quite fittingly, the final is being held in Vélez's stadium, so it would be nice to win the game in the stadium of the team that we beat to get here. For some reason, the match was being played while the sun was exploding, and Defensa had the first chance of the game, but their header was just over the bar. Moments later, we had a chance to come forward instead, working the ball down the right-hand side of the pitch, getting it into the middle and having our shot blocked. But the rebound fell to Evandro, who scored the goal to give us the lead. From our right back, now to our left back, as he was given the ball and he put it into the path of Barella, who was able to deliver a cross that was blocked. But it fell to Viano, who finished to make it 2-0. But the nail in the coffin came right at the end of the first half, as Edgardo Mendes dribbled into the area, unleashed a shot, and made it 3-0 at half-time. Surely we can't bottle it from here. For some reason, the sun then stopped exploding in the second half, but the defensive players had already been blinded by the light. Their keeper played a perfect pass into the feet of Viano, who made it 4-0 90 seconds into the second half. And then straight from the kickoff, we had another chance. Franco was put clean through on goal, but his shot just hit the post. But in the end, it didn't matter. We'd already done enough. The CAF Champions League, the AFC Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the UEFA Champions League, and now finally, the Copa Libertadores. We've done it! We have completed the Pentagon Challenge. From humble beginnings at Tihad Athletic Sports in Morocco's 3rd division, we ended up winning 23 trophies in total when you include all the various Super Cups and minor trophies we didn't even have a chance to speak about in these episodes. Of course, we've had great players. Reda Jardy was our star man at Tangier and the first player we sold for big money. And interestingly, he moved to Lincoln City, the club I support in real life, some years after our time at Tangier. Arthur Sousa, who's now a scout, was our main man at Cheonan, and Augustin Alvarez was our striker at Cerezo Osaka. Casper Glass was the unlikely hero who helped us win the Champions Cup with Club America, whilst Max Quelschwals at Arsenal and our now retired Goncalves at AC Milan are two of the best strikers I have ever seen in Football Manager. But of course, there's only one player who's in our hearts. The real hero is Moon Sung Hwan. If he wasn't on such a ridiculous contract in Saudi Arabia, he would have come everywhere with us. But clearly he values money a lot more than friendship and a good story. But to be fair to him, they don't pay the bills or create generational wealth. But now we have completed the Pentagon Challenge. What should we do next? Let me know down in the comment section what you want to see me do, and in the meantime, you can either go to the second channel where we've got a long Let's Play going on with Saint Etienne, or you can watch his other video which YouTube is specifically recommending to you and it thinks you would really enjoy. So thank you for coming on this Pentagon Challenge journey with me. I'll see you again in one of these videos.